Welcome back. Let's talk a little bit more about self-destructive behavior. And today, let's talk about projection, and let's talk about a defense mechanism that we know as denial reversal. Let's look at a child, for example, who might have been the young child of a couple that became divorced, or even just the young child, infant child of a couple that was having environmental difficulties or relationship issues. Long before that couple divorced, let's say, or long before whatever the difficulties were reached their climax, there would have been the manifestation of the unrest, of the stress within the household. The infant child might have experienced that unrest, for the sake of our explanation here, our illustration, in terms of feeling slightly neglected or abandoned or not properly attended to. As an adult, that child, which has grown up with the desire to be trusted or the fear of being abandoned, having incorporated those feelings as a young child and flipped them over, might manifest their fear of being abandoned through a series of repetitive relationships that result in the adult feeling abandoned. The thing they most desire is the thing they are most unable to acquire because they do not have the skills to get past the patterns that they learned. So they're afraid of being abandoned, and yet they create a whirlwind in their lifestyle whereby they feel increasingly overwhelmed as the intimacy builds, and intimacy builds over time. So as the time goes on, their sense of intimacy builds, and their fear of being abandoned or neglected increases. The unresolved conflict from the child causes the adult to attempt to take control of the situation. Because it's an unresolved conflict, the control mechanism is inadequate. So that the way that the adult manifests the desire to prevent being abandoned is to create a situation in which they're abandoned. Much akin to, you can't fire me, I quit. Because the unconscious motivation endures, and because it has not come to conscious awareness, it is impossible for the adult to compensate appropriately, to change their behavior. Through the process of psychoanalysis, we increase our individual awareness of our unconscious motivations. We become aware of the patterns, the repetitive patterns of our existence, and we become aware of the motivational aspects of them. Once we have that knowledge, and we can connect that knowledge to the emotional state that it resides in, then we can begin to attempt to discontinue that unfulfilling, repetitive pattern. And this takes place in many different behaviors. The person who only wants to be trusted somehow periodically trips, does something untrustworthy, and has to start all over again to rebuild trust. The person who wants success in whatever way they do, if that desire is representative of the integrated childhood patterns turned over, right, integrated and reversed, the adult is going to sabotage their behaviors. The way to resolve the conflict is to understand the nature of the conflict, identify the source of the conflict, and work towards rewiring the behaviors. We'll talk more next time.